You need to know about it, including live reports from the field. But welcome in, everyone. This is Weather Unfiltered. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson, of course, our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. You've been tracking this all week. So made its closest pass to North Carolina. We're seeing some of the waves from Kill Devil Hills.
Yeah, this has delivered on what we expected even a week ago. We were already talking about how Highway 12 was probably going to be problematic, how the Jersey Shore could have some flood problems like this evening. Southeast New England's going to get the strong winds. We're even getting delays at New York City airports.
All kinds of issues. There's no question about that. The good news is near miss, right? It could have been a lot worse, but it's going to quickly accelerate its way north and east and become a long-distance memory at this point. But we know a lot of...
But thanks to Aaron, Invest 90L is going to be drawn northward.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons why this is not going to be headed toward the continental U.S. And the next wave behind it probably runs into trouble. And don't worry about this guy.
I was going to say, where'd this little guy come from? A lot of people are like, that's a new dot.
That's a subtropical latitudes kind of thing. It's not a big deal. So 70% chance with a 50-50 chance over the next couple of days. But again, the weakness in the ridge in the western Atlantic is going to bring this northward. And that's what we've been generally seeing for the last 2 to 3 days with the models, generally in good agreement. Doesn't mean that we won't affect land.
So we look at Bermuda, which found itself very comfortably on the right-hand side of Aaron's, model data. These models say Bermuda very much in play.
Yeah, and, it can't be an Atlantic hurricane season without a couple tropical storm watches and warnings for Bermuda, but hopefully this doesn't strengthen all that much.
All right, well, looking at what's going to happen here, again, we were looking at, the end of the week for it to move north of the islands. This forecast model, the USGFS, says right over Bermuda, but I noticed not closed.
No, but that might be underdone.
Okay.
Don't be shocked if this overachieves a little bit.
Oh, those are some changes, right? We've got our upper level disturbance that's going to help to cool down some of that cool air. So down into parts of the plains, down into sections of the Midwest, it is going to feel downright refreshing. High temperatures, in fact, 5 to 10 degrees below average as that cold front works all the way into the southeast. So by this weekend, you're noticing those changes across sections of the northern and central plains, even again into places like Oklahoma City by early week. Minneapolis, Green Bay, UP of Michigan, I think that's where some of the greatest departures from average will be, but even sections of the Midwest and Ohio Valley cooling off. Now, early next week, we told you what was coming your way in Oklahoma City, parts of Kansas as well. Some big-time temperature departures also for the state of Arkansas. But notice cooler air edging into the southeast, too, where it's been awfully hot. Sections of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi getting in on that blue on the map. So the below-average temperatures, in addition to temperatures falling off, dew points will be backing off as well. So highs early next week, 60s for Syracuse. We've got 70s in Pittsburgh, Roanoke, Louisville, Chicago, and Kansas City as well. 60s for Dodge City and Oklahoma City, 80s for Memphis, but a comfortable, a manageable 80s, not like 89 and dew points approaching 80. Minneapolis, your average high is 80 degrees this time of year. Saturday, a high of 72. Sunday, a high of 67. We're going 70s next week. Low 70s on Monday, mid 70s Tuesday, upper 70s on Wednesday. You get the 70s variety pack around Minneapolis. But notice 5 straight days of below average temperatures. Chicago, a little bit above the mark on Saturday. By the end of the weekend, starting next week, low to mid 70s.
Are overachieving.
Absolutely. Well, we are continuing to track it. Before it makes that turn away, you're watching Weather Unfiltered with Mike Bettis. I'm Alex Wilson. We've got our hurricane expert, Dr. Knabb, in the house, too.
One more bad night for coastal flooding and storm surge in the mid-Atlantic and northeast beaches, and then one very windy morning tomorrow in southeastern New England. And then we just have to wait for the western Atlantic to just calm down. It'll take a couple days.
We'd love to see that happen. We're going to have live reports from the coastline coming up here in just a second, but we know that the East Coast is really taking a battering today.
Yeah, delivering some big waves. We've seen the overwash as well. Outer Banks was always expected to be kind of the spot. This, the view under the pier in Kill Devil Hills.
And the waters are coming back up as we speak in the Outer Banks region as we head toward another high tide. This will be the 3rd high tide cycle you've had to go through. This will be the last bad one.
Thank goodness. The beach erosion becoming a thing that we're way too familiar with in North Carolina. And we know just as expected, the ocean spilled over. All
right, and we have Dr. Knabb back with us because we got to talk about what else is going on in the tropics. Invest 99L still our area to watch. Now Invest 90L, and then they're like, Wait, there's another dot, but you said this is a, don't worry.
Don't worry about this pipsqueak. It's not going to last. It's not going to affect any land areas in any significant way. But another significant tropical wave following on the heels of Erin, and 90L will actually follow Erin, but go farther east. So at the top of that waffle cone, that's Bermuda. That's the land area that we're most concerned about. Depending upon how strong this system gets, the chances are going up. This is very likely to develop. Showery, gusty winds in the Leeward Islands, but the bulk of this is also going to pass them to the north.
All right, we look at those forecast models. You mentioned Bermuda. Got lucky like we did with Erin, went in between. Forecast models take this one farther to the east, meaning Bermuda could be in play.
And you can blame Erin for that, too, because it's such a large hurricane that it has left this massive weakness in the subtropical ridge. And then there's another big trough that's bringing the front through the Great Lakes this weekend, cooling things down in Chicago. It's also taking the next system toward Bermuda.
That front is really our friend then. We owe it like, I don't know, like a gift basket or something.
It's saving your weekend and your next week.
Exactly. All right, so we look at this. You said might be a little underdone. Can't write off a threat to Bermuda.
No, that there's going to be upper level high pressure, and it's going to be going east of the cold wake from Erin. Erin has cooled off the waters between Bermuda and the Bahamas, but because this is going farther east, it's going to have fresh, warm ocean to feast off of. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets stronger than the models are suggesting.
All right, so that, of course, was the GFS. We look at the European forecast model, similar, but again, we're going to watch that one. Then we've got our 99L, chance of development really in the limited term.
Yeah, because then it runs into more stable air, which is a precursor to how I think the last week of August in the Atlantic Basin will be relatively quiet, but then I think favorable conditions start to move in. The East Pacific will light back up, and then the first week of September, watch out in the Atlantic Basin.
You heard it here. And by the way, he was right last time, too. We'll be right back. Wow, those are some changes, right? All right, we've got our upper level disturbance that's going to help to cool down some of that cool air. So down into parts of the plains, down into sections of the Midwest, it is going to feel downright refreshing. High temperatures, in fact, 5 to 10 degrees below average as that cold front works all the way into the southeast. So by this weekend, you're noticing those changes across sections of the northern and central plains, even again into places like Oklahoma City by early week. Minneapolis, Green Bay, UP of Michigan, I think that's where some of the greatest departures from average will be, but even sections of the Midwest and Ohio Valley cooling off. Now, early next week, we told you what was coming your way in Oklahoma City, parts of Kansas as well. Some big-time temperature departures also for the state of Arkansas. But notice cooler air edging into the southeast, too, where it's been awfully hot. Sections of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi getting in on that blue on the map. So the below-average temperatures, in addition to temperatures falling off, dew points will be backing off as well. So highs early next week, 60s for Syracuse. We've got 70s in Pittsburgh, Roanoke, Louisville, Chicago, and Kansas City as well. 60s for Dodge City and Oklahoma City, 80s for Memphis, but a comfortable, a manageable 80s, not like, 89 and dew points approaching 80. Minneapolis, your average high is 80 degrees this time of year. Saturday, a high of 72. Sunday, a high of 67. We're going 70s next week. Low 70s on Monday, mid 70s Tuesday, upper 70s on Wednesday. You get the 70s variety pack around Minneapolis. But notice 5 straight days of below average temperatures. Chicago, a little bit above the mark on Saturday. By the end of the weekend, starting next week, low to mid 70s. We've churned up an awful lot of ocean here with Hurricane Erin, but we are going to be looking at better days ahead in the water. Now, outside of the water in Daytona Beach, you've got your very typical Florida pattern of summertime thunderstorms, particularly during the afternoon hours. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Afternoon thunderstorms. So if you're up early, you get to the beach early in the day, I think you get much more sunshine. Then you watch those cumulus clouds billowing by late morning. Skies open up into the afternoon. Again, rip current danger still very high across our East Coast beaches. So looking at New England, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, even much of the Southeast and Florida beaches still in red. That's that high danger of rip currents. Things starting to get a little bit better, but still rip current danger for areas in yellow. That's a moderate risk. Remember, we had a moderate risk on Monday across sections of North Carolina when they did dozens of water rescues. So moderate does not mean all clear. Listen to the lifeguards, swim at those guarded beaches. Now in Miami tomorrow, we do have a chance of rain. Again, mainly the afternoon hours. Highs around 92, but if you're out and about early, I think you've got more dry time than the afternoon hours. It's Florida in August. Vero Beach, Florida. You got 93 with the afternoon thunderstorms. Chance of rain about 50%. Don't forget the sunscreen. Remember, especially out there early, you don't want to get back from your summer vacation all burned. Daytona Beach, Florida. You're a spot that's going to not be quite as hot as South Florida, but you still have very much Florida temps, 87 degrees. You get out there on the beach early. Those afternoon thunderstorms roll in. You head to one of those, local eateries. You grab a Caribbean cocktail or a Florida drink, and then you get the fish tacos. It's always the fish. Well, shrimp tacos are really good, too. Pensacola, we head over to the Panhandle, 85 with a 60% chance of rain. By the way, air temperature 85, water temperature 89. So, when you first jump in the pool, or you don't, well, if you're like me, I prefer the method of just torturing myself where you go very slowly. You don't have to do that in Pensacola. You can truly walk right in. It's not going to feel any different from air to water. So we don't have to do that I don't want to get in. And the critical areas, once you get those wet, you're in it to win it. I should jump in, but I don't. Panama City Beach, Florida. We've got 87 with a 60% chance of rain. So here, a little better afternoon thunderstorm chance. Water temperature also in the upper 80s. So again, no trouble. You're going to walk right in. Clearwater, Florida, 86 with a 60% chance of rain. Water temperature near 90 degrees tomorrow. So again, beaches should be good. Listen to those lifeguards. Again, be aware of the rip current danger. It doesn't take a hurricane to lead to the high danger of rip currents. So always pay attention to the flags that are flying at the beaches and your lifeguard's guidance. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Clearwater, it's the hit or miss thunderstorm chances. So more sunshine early, more spotty showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon. Keep in mind, any of those thunderstorms going to bring a lot of lightning and some very heavy downpours. Fort Myers Beach, Florida, we've got low 90s on Friday, upper 80s Saturday and Sunday with hit or miss thunderstorms over the weekend.
We do tend to put odds on things, and including a 80% chance now of this next system developing into a depression or storm. This could go farther east than Aaron and maybe directly affect Bermuda, starting to look fairly healthy on the satellite imagery, but the bulk of the energy and the bad weather is going to go north of the Leeward Islands. So there is that area of spin. And look what happens when we get into Sunday. Bermuda heads up.
Yeah, we thank Aaron for giving it that path north, but this one could get a little more precariously close to Bermuda, so certainly watching it.
But the Atlantic could be getting busier.
All right.
That doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not. So we're going to talk all the details about Aaron for you in this hour. Thanks for being with us. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson, of course, here with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knapp. Now, you told us you knew it was going to get that big, but you're right. This is kind of an anomalously large storm, and because of that, it's churned up a lot of ocean.
And now, this evening, we are dealing with yet another really bad high astronomical tide. We're starting to get water covering some roadways on the coast of New Jersey. This is their worst night of the Aaron episode yet.
Yeah, we've been watching Reynolds Wolf shot in Atlantic City. Things churned up. Jen Carfagno has had a really active scene, too.
And a lot of folks are out there. I get the piers. They're like, I got to get a look at this, right? Look at the water splashing up under the piers here. This is on the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Kill Devil Hills. Folks were out there fishing, she said, for drum. They're looking for drum. But everyone wants a selfie with Aaron, right?
If you can't get in the water, you may as well go, ooh, at it.
You know that old adage, though, never turn your back on the ocean. You do a selfie too close to the waves, and you won't like the outcome of that
Maybe
picture.
Up on the pier, you're a little safer than you are down on the beach, that's for sure. All right, let's talk some more details about Aaron and what we can expect.
Well, Jen, thanks. Now, that big surf, not just in the Outer Banks. Meteorologist Reynolds Wolf has been there on the beach. And, of course, live in Atlantic City, it's happening, too. We're like, OK, we just got rid of Aaron. Hopefully, we got nothing else on tap. And then everybody goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's three pulsing dots. Now we've got Invest 90L, still have Invest 99L, and a new little area.
Well, let me make you feel a little bit better. Erase this one. Don't worry about it. It's going to be short-lived, not going to affect land, and the chances of development are going down. This one might develop, but it's going to fall apart before it can affect land. And this tropical wave, no near-term prospects. So we're really down to this guy. In the near term. And that's the biggest concern. Now, Leeward Island's thinking, oh, no, not again.
Right.
But I don't think the rainfall-induced flooding in, say, Puerto Rico will be as bad as Aaron because this isn't as developed yet.
And it looks like it's set to make that turn earlier, obviously, than Aaron. Aaron skirted a little farther to the west before eventually making that swing. And you've said Aaron is partially what's guiding this. So even though the chances are up to 80%, probably not a U.S. issue, but that doesn't mean no land.
Right. And the system behind it has a 50-50 shot of developing, but it is for the potential for something short-lived to get going. And that is not going to be following in the footsteps of 90L. This is going to be a very short-lived system. But this one, the problem with this one is going to be that it will be farther to the east, because Aaron was in this zone and cooled off the waters to below average, but the warmer, untouched waters are here. So, Alex, I'm a little concerned about, could this overachieve on its way toward Bermuda? Now, they're resilient, they're built well, they can take it if it doesn't get out of control strong, but this could be a little bit bigger deal for Bermuda than Aaron was.
Yeah, well, the guidance is a little bit more in agreement that we're going to be looking at something that moves that direction, and Bermuda's more in play.
Yeah, now Aaron is causing the weakness in the ridge to allow this to turn, so you can blame Aaron for what Bermuda might get from this system, too.
Wow, those are some changes, right? All right, we've got our upper level disturbance that's going to help to cool down some of that cool air. So down into parts of the plains, down into sections of the Midwest, it is going to feel downright refreshing. High temperatures, in fact, 5 to 10 degrees below average as that cold front works all the way into the southeast. So by this weekend, you're noticing those changes across sections of the northern and central plains, even again into places like Oklahoma City by early week. Minneapolis, Green Bay, UP of Michigan, I think that's where some of the greatest departures from average will be, but even sections of the Midwest and Ohio Valley cooling off. Now, early next week, we told you what was coming your way in Oklahoma City, parts of Kansas as well. Some big-time temperature departures also for the state of Arkansas. But notice cooler air edging into the southeast, too, where it's been awfully hot. Sections of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi getting in on that blue on the map. So the below-average temperatures, in addition to temperatures falling off, dew points will be backing off as well. So highs early next week, 60s for Syracuse. We've got 70s in Pittsburgh, Roanoke, Louisville, Chicago, and Kansas City as well. 60s for Dodge City and Oklahoma City, 80s for Memphis, but a comfortable, a manageable 80s, not like, 89 and dew points approaching 80. Minneapolis, your average high is 80 degrees this time of year. Saturday, a high of 72. Sunday, a high of 67. We're going 70s next week. Low 70s on Monday, mid 70s Tuesday, upper 70s on Wednesday. You get the 70s variety pack around Minneapolis. But notice 5 straight days of below average temperatures. Chicago, a little bit above the mark on Saturday. By the end of the weekend, starting next week, low to mid 70s. So that's Aaron, or the result of Aaron, but we've got plenty of other things to watch in the tropics, one in particular.
Yeah, Invest 90L is going to be following in the footsteps of Aaron, generally speaking, with regard to track, with less of an impact on the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico, and maybe more of an impact on Bermuda.
All right, so Bermuda and us, really, we kind of split the difference with Aaron, but following the path of Aaron, but not completely. Aaron's almost setting up the path north, but also allowing it to be a little farther to the east.
Yeah, now the good news is the one behind that wave has a 50-50 shot of developing, but it's probably going to be very short-lived. So most of our attention should be on this 80% wave, which has a better than 50-50 shot of forming by sometime this weekend, but you notice how Bermuda is more in play. Now, this is taking a little more time to develop than Aaron did, so it's not going to be as strong as it passes just north of the islands. So they're going to have some scattered showers, but the heaviest thunderstorms are going to stay to the north.
All right. We look at, the path of Aaron, the path of possibly this one. You said it's not necessarily going to work over the cooler water that Aaron's leaving. It's going to have it's going to go its own way.
It absolutely is. And by the way, there's another wave behind that. Every 2 to 4 days, these waves are going to come off. The question is development chances. And I think this has the greatest chance long term. This has a little less. This has even a little less.
Okay.
So things are turning for next week, trending quieter in the Atlantic. But to your point, Alex, this wave here is headed behind this upper level low, so upper level high pressure. So the atmosphere looks like it's going to cooperate with the wind shear. But there's that really warm water between where it is now and Bermuda. That's some of the warmest water in the basin. But Aaron's cooling effect was farther to the southwest, so it's going to miss Aaron's cold wake.
So it's going to have that warm water to work with. What else would be working for this? Because you said, we look at the European model where this is going, how much or little it strengthens. You said some of these models may be a little underdone.
Yeah, because there's a cocoon of upper-level high pressure in this zone. A little outflow jet this way, a little outflow jet to the north. So this could get a little stronger than you might initially think. But a lot farther east, so Bermuda could be in play. But after that, the basin does seem to quiet down a little bit, and that's consistent with what the Climate Prediction Center is saying for next week. Maybe waves try to develop off the African coast. But here we go again with that peeling of the banana kind of thing, right? One basin at a time. The East Pacific might light back up, and you know what that means. That means favorable conditions moving across the Pacific again after a little bit of a lull, and then the first week of September, things could, climatologically speaking, you wouldn't be surprised, but everywhere in early September, often conducive.
Still have a lot of hurricane season to go. So even if we got, a period of break time, can't write off the season.
No, and we know how busy September can be. Even when there's a little bit of a mid-season break at the end of August, it'll be shorter than last year's break.
We're watching Weather Unfiltered here on a Thursday. I'm Alex Wilson here with Mike Bettis and, of course, our hurricane expert, Dr. Nab. Aaron's been causing all sorts of trouble. Yeah,
and even though it's moving away from the coast right now, the coastal conditions from North Carolina to New Jersey have been getting worse over the last couple hours because we're going through another high tide cycle.
Yeah, we've got some really gusty winds up at Cape Cod, Massachusetts as well. Really strong storm surge there, and so they've canceled ferry service. The waves are really rough, and check it out here at the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's been no picnic today.
No, the view off the pier or under the pier at times and Kill Devil Hills, the surf has been rough. The water's been dangerous really all week.
Yeah, and we're still under storm surge warning on the coast of North Carolina, coastal flood warnings from the Hampton Roads area all the way up to Long Island.
All right. Well, just as expected, the ocean back with me to talk about what else is happening in the tropics. Of course, we've had our eyes on Aaron all week, but there are other things worth watching.
And these are all associated with African easterly waves, these low to mid-level disturbances that come off the coast of Africa every 2 to 4 days. This is a wave, and this is a wave, and there's one behind it. But I think with each successive one, the chances of long-term development and long-lasting storms go down. This is going to be the main player over the next week.
And we look at a similar but different enough track to Aaron, especially when it comes to the island of Bermuda.
Yeah, and it's taking a little longer to develop than Aaron did, so it's not going to be as strong as it passes just north of the Leeward Islands. So I don't think we're going to have nearly as much heavy rainfall and flooding and gusty winds in places like Puerto Rico. But like you say, chances are very high that this develops and goes farther east than Aaron, so Bermuda could get more direct effects out of this one.
Yeah, you pointed out that, this actually timing-wise for the islands might work out well, but it's still going to be moving over some warm water that could intensify it as it approaches Bermuda.
Yeah, because you might think that, well, because of Aaron using up all the energy in the warm waters, that this is going to have less fuel. But Aaron went this way, and it used up more of the fuel here, so this is going to go east of Aaron's cold wake, so it's going to have plenty of energy to tap into.
It's a big ocean. We got lots to work with. All right, here's the future forecast. This is the USGFS, and again, working up towards Bermuda. Now, some people might go, well, that doesn't look like a super strong system, but you said don't buy into the early estimations.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be as horizontally large as Aaron, so that makes it look less impressive on the wide view of the modeling, but because of those warm waters and the upper level conditions get pretty conducive, it already looks fairly healthy. Could this get to be a strong tropical storm or maybe a little more for Bermuda? That's at least a possibility we have to allow for.
Well, we've seen it happen with other storms, Aaron, so there's that. USGFS model, very similar.
Yeah, so Bermuda heads up. After that, the Atlantic might quiet down before ramping back up early September.
All right, Dr.